The moment Captain Lucas Reeves saw the man step onto the plane, his jaw tightened. Tall, confident, neatly dressed in a charcoal jacket, yet the color of his skin made Lucas's instincts whisper caution. "Sir," the gate agent called. "This passenger's name is Elijah Carter." Lucas nodded curtly, his blue eyes narrowing. "Random check. Escort him back for screening." The terminal went silent. Heads turned. Elijah froze, his boarding pass still in his hand. "I'm sorry," he asked quietly. "Routine," Lucas replied flatly, not meeting his gaze. "Security protocol." But there was nothing routine about the humiliation that followed. As two officers approached, a little black boy clutching Elijah's hand began to cry. "Daddy, did we do something wrong?" Elijah knelt beside him, forcing a smile. "No, son, we didn't." His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. Passengers watched, whispering. Some turned away. The white pilot stood there, tall, expression unreadable, while the black passenger was led aside like a criminal. 15 minutes later, the so-called random search ended. Nothing was found. No violation, not even a raised voice. Elijah and his son returned to the gate, silent, but Lucas could feel their eyes on him as he boarded. He told himself it wasn't personal, that safety came first, that he was just doing his job. But deep down, something twisted inside him, something he refused to name: guilt. Mid-flight, the storm outside mirrored the turbulence inside him. He couldn't stop glancing through the cockpit window toward the first-class cabin, where Elijah sat beside his son, the boy's tiny head resting against his father's shoulder. His co-pilot, a young white woman, noticed his distraction. "Everything okay, Captain?" He hesitated. "Yeah, just thinking." She smiled faintly. "About the passenger you embarrassed back there." Lucas's grip tightened on the throttle. "You saw that." "Everyone did," she said quietly. "It wasn't right, sir." For the rest of the flight, her words echoed in his head. When they landed, Lucas stayed in the cockpit longer than usual. He told himself it was to finish the post-flight checklist, but really, he didn't want to face the looks. Still, as fate would have it, Elijah was waiting just outside the cockpit door, his son asleep in his arms. "Captain Reeves," Elijah said softly. Lucas froze. "I wanted to thank you for the safe flight." The words hit harder than any rebuke. He didn't know what to say, so he just nodded stiffly. "Of course." Then Elijah added quietly, "It's not the first time this has happened, but I still teach my boy to respond with grace, not hate." He walked away before Lucas could answer. 3 days later, Lucas stood in his airline's headquarters, summoned for a disciplinary review. A complaint had been filed, but that wasn't what made him nervous. The CEO himself had requested his presence. The boardroom door opened, and there stood Elijah, this time in a tailored suit, calm and composed. Next to him, the airline CEO greeted Lucas warmly. "Captain Reeves," he said, "meet Mr. Elijah Carter, the man you flagged." Lucas blinked. "Sir, I didn't realize," the CEO interrupted. "Elijah is also a senior aviation consultant for the International Safety Commission. And," he paused, glancing at Elijah, "he's the son of Admiral Thomas Carter." The room went still. Thomas Carter, the most decorated Air Force pilot in US history, a legend, a name every pilot grew up respecting, including Lucas. Elijah spoke quietly. "My father trained men like you. He believed the sky belonged to everyone, no matter who they were. I guess not everyone believes that anymore." Lucas's throat tightened. He wanted to speak, to defend himself, but no excuse felt worthy. "I was wrong," he finally said, voice low. "I judged you before I knew you. I'm sorry." Elijah studied him for a moment, then nodded. "I don't need your apology, Captain. I just hope next time, someone who looks like my son doesn't need a famous name to be treated with dignity." Those words stayed with Lucas long after Elijah left the room. A month later, Lucas stood again at the same terminal gate, watching passengers board. This time, he noticed everything he hadn't before. The nervous mother, balancing a stroller. The elderly black man holding his hat respectfully. The shy kid clutching his passport with excitement. When a black teenager hesitated at the gate, fumbling his papers, Lucas stepped forward gently. "Take your time, son," he said with a warm smile. "You're good to go." The boy's eyes widened in surprise. "Thank you, sir." Lucas nodded, his voice softer now. "You have a safe flight." As the jet engines roared outside, Lucas felt something shift inside him, a weight lifting. That night, he wrote a letter addressed to Admiral Thomas Carter, the man whose son had unknowingly changed his life. In it, he wrote, "Sir, I once saw color before character, fear before faith. Your son showed me what true courage looked like. Quiet, dignified, unprovoked. I can't erase what I did, but I can promise to do better. Thank you for raising a man who taught me more about integrity, In 5 minutes, then I learned. In 20 years of flying. Lucas sealed the letter and slipped it into the outgoing mail, his reflection faint in the glass of the airport window. Outside, a plane took off, the same model he flew, soaring into the golden light of sunset. He watched it rise, a symbol of second chances, of learning, of healing. Sometimes, the lessons that change us most come from the people we once judged. Because hate divides, but kindness heals. And true strength isn't found in power. It's found in humility.